Hi all. Today we are going to discuss the topic about exception and multi-threading in the from the subject of object-oriented programming in Java. So under this exception and multi-threading, we are going to discuss the topic about runtime exception. Generally, before the session, we have to recall the last sessions, and last class we just uh, go through the topics about the exception handling blocks. There are four types of blocks, that is nothing but try, catch, finally, and throws. These are all the exception handling blocks. So based on this, we are going to discuss the topic about runtime exception. That is the next topic of exception handling blocks. So generally, what are the types of exception means? There are two types of exceptions. User defined exceptions, built-in exceptions. Under this built-in exceptions, there are checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Under this checked expenses, what are the exceptions comes under this means class not found and interrupted, IO, input output exceptions, instantiation exceptions, SQL exceptions, and file not found. These are all the exceptions comes under the checked exceptions. And in unchecked exceptions, the types of exceptions are arithmetic exceptions, class cast exceptions, null pointer exceptions, array index out of bounds exceptions, array store exceptions, illegal thread state exceptions. So these are all the types of exceptions. And the next, we are elaborately going to see the topic of checked and unchecked exceptions. So under this checked and unchecked, we already seen about that there are two types, user defined and built-in. And under this built-in, checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. And these are all the common types of runtimes errors. Under these common types of runtimes error, what kind of errors we have already seen? That is logic error and memory leak, division by zero error, undefined object error, input output error, encoding error. Logic error means when we define some programs, we can technically define the mathematical expressions or operations. We just did some kind of careless mistakes in that expressions. This is called as logic error. And memory leak means when we create an object for particular class, but that particular object is already override in some other object means we cannot define that particular object with enough memory space. That is memory leak. And division by zero error means whenever we already very known about mathematical concept, that is anything by zero is nothing. So here division by zero is error is the same. Undefined object error means whenever we create an class, whenever we define the class, under that class we can create an object. If without creating an object, we can't call that particular methods and attributes it's defined under the class. So that is called as undefined object error. Input and output error means the user cannot give any inputs, we can't get any output. That is input or output error. The next thing is encoding error. What is encoding error means? If we need to define any particular print statements, we cannot define that particular statements in by following the some kind of rules which is already defined in Java. So that is called encoding error. So this is null pointer exception. In null pointer exception, there are it's combination of the three things, that is string, date, and any other class type exception, that is null pointer exceptions. The next thing is how do programmers handle an exception hierarchy in Java. That is nothing but there are we already shown the types of exception is uh, try, catch, finally throw. This is the types of exceptions. So and how we know that that is the exception means the try, catch, finally throw can use some keyword for defined exception in Java program. That keyword can use it to define the exceptions in Java. That's nothing but in try catch blocks. The keyword is the foundation of exception handling, allow precise error responses. And finally, throw custom exceptions, exception chaining. These are all the keywords. Hierarchy in Java. So we'll discuss the topic in the next session. Thank you.